Well, one thing I heard this similar conversation. Actually, listen to Chicago sports talk radio. Do you listen to Lawrence Holmes much? Are you?
I love Lawrence Holmes. I don't get a chance to really listen to him, but he's very smart,
Yeah, he's
articulate,
insightful.
and
Yeah,
and he's got good views. You know.
he's insightful is how I'd put it. He broke this whole situation down over and over again. I think really eloquently, many different times, many different ways. But one thing I kind of bristle at is he brought up this, the no salary floor and how teams were just pocketing the money and they weren't spending. And he kept grouping. He had a group of teams that he mentioned on several different occasions when I was listening, on different days, different weeks, where he'd bring up the Pirates, which I think everyone can point to the Pirates.
Matey.
Repeatedly, he brought up the Tigers, and I was kind of, I couldn't like believe what I was hearing, and I started thinking about, well, maybe I'm just bristling that because I never thought of the Tigers as a team that just pockets the money and they're not trying to win.
Right.
And then I started breaking it down. The Tigers have spent close to $240 million this offseason alone with contracts to Javi Baez, Eduardo Rodriguez, Tucker Barnhart. They've spent ridiculous amounts of money, when they had a competitive window for 10 years when they were a World Series contender and in fact made the World Series 2 times. I think they had a $200 million contract for Prince Fielder at one point, which eventually became Ian Kinsler. So I was kind of shocked that he kept grouping Detroit. Do you think of Detroit? Again, I might be.
No, I think of Detroit as a team similar to the White Sox that once they hit a point that they knew that the backfilling with veterans wasn't going to make their team competitive, they'd flip the switch and decided to rebuild.
It's interesting. It's interesting you bring up the White Sox though, because
they're notoriously, like, prior to recent, are penny pinchers.
Well, even recently though, the biggest free agent contract they've ever signed is $68 million.
Yeah, but they're the 5th highest payroll right now.
True. But if the history of the game, this is the highest their payroll has ever been.
Right. No, I agree. That's what I'm saying. Yeah.
I wouldn't call them in the same boat with the Pirates necessarily, but I couldn't believe that Lawrence Holmes was bringing up the Tigers in the same boat and not even noticing. He seems like tries to walk the line of being both a Cubs and White Sox fan.
Well, he's really a White Sox fan.
I was pretty sure he's a White Sox.
Oh yeah, he's a diehard White Sox fan.
I think that's just that might be a big blind spot right there. Like when he thinks about pocketing the money, because if you're of these two teams, of at least the two teams you and I are talking about, and
I would say Detroit. I bet if we went back to 2005 and compared the White Sox and Detroit probably outspent the White Sox by hundreds of millions of dollars
from that day forward.
Yeah, or maybe leading in. But remember how great the Tigers were the following season. The Sox did not make the playoffs with 90 wins because there wasn't a wild card yet. They expanded wild card yet, and they were 3rd in the division with 90 wins that year.
The Miguel Cabrera $248 million contract alone.
While we've heard that, and some players have acknowledged that the White Sox did make them those pitchers, and White Sox did make them an offer, but I forget, was it Zach Wheeler? His wife didn't want to live in Chicago or something, and that's how he ended up in Philly or something. Whatever the stories are, there were some confirmation from players that the Sox did make, like, large offers. But then,
the famous Manny Machado deal.
The Manny Machado, which is where I was going to go next, is like, but you had an opportunity there. Now, granted, it may all work out fine for the White Sox, so it doesn't matter. But again, based on what the conversation we're having, to call the Tigers out is, I would say, more like the Royals, who like spend a little bit, but then pull back and immediately go back into a rebuild mode.
Well,
You know,
the A's would be the quintessential example of the 5 teams
right? But
we've got here. But
I
yeah,
was
for
just saying if
sure.
you're going AL Central, if you're
Yeah,
going
yeah,
AL
yeah.
Central, but the Tigers like the contract alone to Miguel
Yeah.
Cabrera, like and the contract they gave Victor Martinez, like
Yeah. I
no, the contracts they have handed out when Papa Illich was alive
yeah.
was the roaring 20s, man. Free spending, free wheeling.
I
I don't
just
care about any competitive balance tax. We're going to spend and win. I mean, that was his goal.
well,
The Sox have never done that. I
I
can
shouldn't
say as a White
right,
Sox
right.
fan, they have never done that. I mean,
Well,
with the new CBT, we've got $22 million of cap space right now.
you've got a hell of a lot more than that, don't you? You
Well,
got
no, we're at 20.
160?
I think we're at 208 after the signings or something like that. I don't know.
Really? I thought you were
Yeah,
like 150 or 160.
no, it's like 208. I heard.
Jeez. All right. Well, we're kind of piling on Lawrence Holmes here. Maybe it's just a blind spot for him. I think it's
No, because I think he's. I'm gonna go back to saying I think he's awesome. So.
yeah, exactly. I think I'm also defensive about my
Oh, you're defensive
Detroit in
about that D
general.
on your head and chest over there.
I'm wearing
Jesus.
Detroit Tigers socks at this point, actually.
Don't wear
So
that here. Don't wear that here for the baseball draft. I'll toss
don't
you over
worry.
the ledge here.
We'll see. We'll see.
I'm kidding. I joke. I joke.
I just needed to get that off my chest. I
Yeah,
wanted to
no.
make sure that wasn't the perception across baseball that Detroit was cheap because I think that's crazy. So
It's not the perception on this podcast as collectively. I can tell you that.
Word Hole Media.